Very happy to have joining me this morning from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. So grateful for this organization. Attorney Lauren Greuel. Also, along with Lauren this morning, is one of their clients, Charlene, who is a Milwaukee parent. And like any mom, she's concerned about the safety of her children in their public schools, and rightfully so, in light of the fact that the Milwaukee Board of School Directors has failed to provide the number of school resource officers that state law requires. And so, unfortunately, because the Milwaukee Public Schools did not respond to a letter, a sternly written, I like to say, letter from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, they have proceeded with a lawsuit. Good morning, ladies. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Meg.
So we're going to start with Charlene. Obviously, you are a mom just like I am, and all I ever want for my children, even though my kids are no longer in school, is I want them to be safe. I want them to be happy. I want them to be secure. And I don't think that that's too much to ask as a parent when they are attending public schools here in Wisconsin. So what motivated you? Obviously, the obvious answer is that there are not enough school resource officers, but was there an incident in one of your children's schools which really pushed you to reach out to Will?
Right, Meg. So I have 6 children, and they have all graduated from MPS school. They range in age from 29 to 17. I have been a witness to many incidents at MPS that were definitely very criminal as far as safety. 2 of my kids received concussions at the school. One of my kids was he's a bigger guy, and one of the kids in the locker room, they have this thing called a fight club, and so the other kid put padlocks from the gym lockers in a sock. And when my son walked into the locker room to change his clothes because he didn't want to participate in Fight Club, he walked into the locker room to change clothes, and he was hit in the head with a sock full of padlocks and received a concussion. That is a criminal act, and if I or you had done that, we would be behind bars. There would have been penalties for that. That child, and they were in 11th grade, so they're like 17, 18-year-olds who could have been charged, but MPS did not report it to the police, nor did they do anything other than move that child to another school. That was an intentional criminal act to me. Another child of mine who was in 6th grade at the time at a different school, 12th grade, so an 18-year-old ran up behind him, picked him up, and slammed him down on the concrete head first. He turned him upside down and slammed him on the concrete. Had a concussion, documented at the hospital. And MPS, again, they did not call the police. I take that back. They called them on me because I was upset because they didn't do anything. They didn't even send my son out to the hospital. When I got to the school, my son was sitting in the dazed in the office, dazed and not getting any medical attention. Waiting for me, they called me to come pick him up. They never called an ambulance or the police. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I got there and I knew immediately. My son's eyes was glazed over, and he was just in and out of consciousness. And so, I'm like, nobody did anything. I'm upset as a parent that the incident happened, and then they also did not get medical care for my son. And so I'm yelling, and then now they call the police on me because I'm frantic because my son is seriously injured and nobody is helping him, and they're sitting in the office just carrying on business as usual, talking and laughing like this kid is not here. My son, I tried to stand my son up to walk. As soon as he stood up to walk, he fell. He started swooning because he was out of it, and nobody helped him. And so they called the police on me because I was a concerned parent, but never for the child that or the kid that slammed my son on concrete, nor medical attention. So I could tell you numerous events that have happened at MPS that should have been treated either criminally or, like I said, if the police, they did have safety resource officers, I think there would have been different outcomes. But the fact that they let these kids, at their discretion, not call the police and the kids get away with this, I just don't understand the message that they're trying to send to the kids, that they don't have to be held accountable if they do commit criminal acts at school. So when I found out about the safety resource officers not being put in school and it was already approved, I was happy to help, to get into this, to do this lawsuit. And because it's not only for my kids, it's for all the kids that attend MPS. The MPS is almost, is for me, it's like a war zone. It's a trigger. Every morning I have to still send my youngest son to school, and I'm wondering, I'm calling him every day. Are you okay? Is something happened at school? And, they say don't bring your phone to school, but I purposely tell my child to sneak his phone in school so he can call me, because I don't trust that they can handle these situations objectively.
Gosh, I don't blame you at all. And I mean, I can't even imagine what it must be like as a mom to wonder throughout the course of the day if your child is going to be safe. And it sounds to me like he's not safe in the Milwaukee public schools.
He's not. And even with my youngest kid, he's approached with, do you want to buy drugs? And they got heavy drugs in the school. They have heavy drugs. He said he's been approached, offered heroin. He's been offered. He thinks they're ecstasy pills or acid strips. When he describes them to me, I'm trying to figure out, like, what are they trying to give you? They're constantly offering him drugs and also trying to get him into this thing called the Fight Club. And he's had a fight in this Fight Club. You either participate in the Fight Club or they will beat you up like they did one of my other sons. And that wasn't even a beat up. That was an attack. You blatantly put socks in a bag and hit a kid in the head with padlocks. That's a criminal assault. That should have been a felony charge, but there was no charges.
Charlene, does this Fight Club happen on school grounds?
It does, in the locker room.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable to me. And I'm sort of going through my mind who I would elevate this to. And it's really tragic that no one in Milwaukee, period, is taking this seriously. And so it has to be elevated to the point of a lawsuit. So that's where you step in, Lauren Greuel from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. So talk about, and I referred to it as the sternly worded letter. Talk about that and obviously the lack of response from MPS.
Yeah, so we wrote MPS a couple weeks ago. We have brought to their attention that this is a legal requirement. It has to be done. You need to be doing it. And unfortunately, we didn't get any response and had to elevate it to a lawsuit. But I'd also like to point out that MPS has been on notice that putting school resource officers, which are specially trained police officers, in schools has been a requirement. They were supposed to have these school resource officers in schools starting January 1st, 2024. January 1st. It's October. So we're well past A, when the school resource officers were supposed to be in schools, and B, since they've known it was going to be a requirement.
Well, they're into a new school year. I mean, so this was established in the previous school year, and it has yet to be. I'm just incredulous at why. I mean, aren't the safety of the staff and the teachers in peril as well if these types of violent acts are happening?
It is, and the teachers do get attacked at the school as well. And when the kids get to fighting, it's madness. And even to the point where if kids are, I've observed the kids, like I go sit in my son's class sometimes, and, the kids are talking back to the teacher. They don't have to listen to the teacher. I've just seen kids throw books at teachers. How I couldn't imagine, being in that environment. I'm trying to teach you, and I'm also fearing for my safety. And they got to get up every day and go back to that job, and sometimes see those kids that have taunted them, and there's no repercussions for those students. They don't put them out of the school district. Alternative schools are just kind of like a thing of the past. There's not many of them, and they don't even have a good plan of what to do with the students, even if they do send them somewhere else. And for me, MPS has always acted as a rogue agent. They do what they want to do. They make their own rules. So I wasn't surprised that they did not follow this rule and put the safety resource officer in there. Not surprised, but I'm still saddened because they should want to ensure the safety of the people that are on MPS school grounds. And that includes the teachers and the children and the rest of the staff that are there.
Lauren, ultimately, isn't the superintendent, I guess maybe the school board, aren't they to be held accountable for this?
Yeah, so we filed a lawsuit in Milwaukee Circuit Court naming the Milwaukee Board of School Directors as the defendant. The law that was passed, which is 2023 Wisconsin Act 12, says Milwaukee Public Schools in a first-class city shall ensure that school resource officers are in place by January 1st, 2024. So it is ultimately up to the Milwaukee Board of School Directors to make this happen, and it hasn't happened yet. I've been seeing that there's a little bit of back and forth between the school and the city and the police department, but ultimately the city isn't named as shall ensure school resource officers are in place. It's MPS. So that's part of what our lawsuit is about and why we named Milwaukee Public Schools as the defendant.
So Wisconsin Act 12, that's in law. That's a law that Governor Tony Evers signed. Has Tony Evers been made aware of what's going on in the biggest city in the state of Wisconsin?
Yes, actually, that's a great point. This law was passed as a bipartisan law. It was passed by Democrats, Republicans, and signed into law by Tony Evers. So this isn't, some just one-sided law. Everybody agreed that this was something that needed to happen. Safety measures needed to be increased in Milwaukee. Tony Evers has said that this should be happening already. He was on record saying that. Cavalier Johnson, the mayor of Milwaukee, has come out and talked about the situation. So this isn't something that just, nobody's talking about. This is something that A, is a law, was supposed to happen, and B, is something that everybody, it seems like, except MPS, wants to happen.
Well, I mean, I would sort of question how sincere Governor Tony Evers is if he's not made it a priority, because I think as the chief executive of the state of Wisconsin, he could make things happen. But evidently, the children, the staff, the teachers in the Milwaukee Public Schools must not be a priority to Tony Evers.
Yeah, I mean, the focus at MPS should be on learning, not on waiting for officers to arrive on site to handle the incidents that Charlene has talked about today and that we're hearing about happening almost daily. And since Charlene has come out with us on this lawsuit, she's been getting texts from parents saying, just recounting horrible things that are happening that would either be deterred by a school resource officer being there or would have been handled more efficiently, quickly, and by a trained officer trained to handle those types of situations if the school resource officers were there.
Bring in the National Guard. I mean, do something. I mean, it really, it's astounding to me. And I have to wonder how many people in the media, if the media is even paying attention to this, how many in the media are questioning Governor Tony Evers about this. And frankly, I mean, I'll call out, I would presume that any Republican legislators that are listening are infuriated by this. I would say that Democrats ought to be too, but if it was truly a bipartisan effort, where are the legislators? Where is Tony Evers calling out that this changed today? Every single child's safety in the state of Wisconsin should be made a priority. And I mean, for Wisconsin's education governor to turn a blind eye to that is irresponsible, reprehensible. These are children. These are our children that should be learning, not worrying about if they're going to get beat up at their schools.
Absolutely. And parents in Milwaukee deserve to send their kids to schools where it's safe, just like anywhere else in our state. So it's unfortunate, but, you know, at Will, we're asking the court for a writ of mandamus, which essentially is just used to compel a public officer to perform a duty that he or she is legally bound to perform. And we're hopeful that this will move quickly so that the school resource officers can get into MPS and keep kids safe.
Milwaukee mom Charlene, you have the final word. I mean, make a plea. Speak directly to Governor Evers if you need to this morning.
What I would like to say, definitely to Governor Evers and the MPS, the board of directors, you know, you guys have to do something. The safety of the kids is at risk. And not only is that, they're not getting a quality education because their attention is being diverted away from being educated because they're worried about their safety. And when my son graduated from school, my kids graduated from school, a few of them found out that they weren't even able to attend college. They had to go back and attend remedial classes because MPS has not prepared them for the college world. Something as simple as writing a paper, a paragraph, and they all have MPS high school diplomas, which says that they should be college ready. But they get to the college, UWM, and now they have to be put back in remedial classes because they can't write one of them couldn't even write a proper entrance paper to get into the college. They taking cursive out of the school. How do you write a paper now? And so they're failing in education because they're so concerned about their safety at school that it's just a disservice all around. And so I believe that they put those safety resource officers in there that'll also bring the community together and establish relationships with the parents, the police officers, the children, and it just brings back community to Milwaukee, something that we direly need.
This is an outrage. I mean, honestly, and I sincerely hope that more people in the media pay attention to this and hold Governor Tony Evers' feet to the fire and hold. I guess you talked about the mayor of Milwaukee, Cavalier Johnson, making some statement. Actions speak louder than words. So step it up. Our children need to be safe in the public schools, regardless of whether they're in central Wisconsin, in Wausau or Marshfield or Merrill or Milwaukee. Our children, that's at the very bare minimum. This state should be ensuring that every single child is safe. And frankly, the teachers and the staff as well. I mean, make this a priority. Okay, so we're out of time. Sorry for the long diatribe. I'm so grateful that you were able to take some time to join me this morning. Ladies, Lauren Greuel from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty and Milwaukee mom, Charlene, thank you for joining me. I hope that you will stay in touch and keep me posted. I am happy to have you back anytime to continue to spread this message that change needs to happen in the Milwaukee public schools.
Thank you, Meg.
Thanks, Charlene.
Thank you, Meg. And the pleasure was mine.
Thank you. God bless you both. Thanks. And